Okay, hi, my name is Joy. I'm going to explain the negative side. Gonna do my best. My point of inherency is that Google hopes to have self-driving cars within 5 years and believe that self-driving vehicles will less likely cause accidents and pollute the environment. But according to the dangers of self-driving cars from CNBC, they said that the danger lurking in self-driving cars is that the driver, really a computer programmer who you will never meet, has no skin in the game, and he won't be harmed by his errors, at least not physically. So since I read this quote, basically it means that like this person will never meet like the person who created the car, and like if anything goes wrong with the car, like what will they do? Pretty much. And from one of my briefs, like these are only prototypes reading. According to a look at the roadblocks facing driverless cars, Google said driverless cars without steering wheels or pedals is dangerous, and that basically pretty much and then limitations still exist on applications. Coming from the same article, a look at the roadblocks facing driverless cars, it says that the cars are far from perfect. Google isn't fully confident they can drive themselves in the rain or fog, and they never driven in snow. They don't turn right on red, and they only can go on roads or freeways. That Google has charted in far greater detail than the maps found on its public site. Driverless cars no longer have a dream, which is a disadvantage. Coming from driverless cars no longer have a dream, Sandra Bate of the Center for Transportation Research at the University of Texas point out that just because a car is driverless doesn't mean we'll want it to be smaller, lighter, and more fuel efficient. He fears that driverless cars will endanger a return to a larger vehicle because people will want more comfortable space when they are free to stretch out, relax, read, video chat, text, or even nap during their trips. He adds that driverless cars could lead to more urban sprawl as car commuting becomes more tolerable without the hassle of actually driving. So even though Jonathan has said just a picture of the button that there's no steering wheel or anything and it's safe to get where that person needs to go, well, in my opinion, I just think it's highly dangerous, and like I said, a lot of people are not ready for change, and it's going to take time for people who want to be able to have self-driving vehicles. Not a lot of people can't afford these self-driving vehicles, so that's going to become a problem. And moving on, wasting valuable money on useless self-driving cars I think it's a waste. Coming from an article of the sneaky way automakers are getting us to accept self-driving vehicles, Google, it says Google's working to convince suspicion humans to give up the wheel with prototype cars that are so friendly and approachable. They're super goofy looking. It's a slower transition than the one Google is applying, but it allows automakers to test new technologies bit by bit and consumers to accept them in small doses. Google said it will be at least 5 years before it puts a consumer to accept them in small doses. Puts a self-driving car on the market. Mainstreams, cars will likely take longer, and if they ever go for full autonomy, in the meantime though, they keep making money off of smarter and smarter cars, where money can be basically put to other resources we really need, instead of like all this materialistic things we don't really need. And my pretty much one more thing, self-driving vehicles can drastically change the economy. And coming from this article called 10 Ways That Driverless Cars Will Change the World, One, no license is required for a driverless car, and perhaps the best thing about driverless cars is that people don't need a license to operate them. Children can drive themselves to karate practice, Sunday football, or school unless it's only a short way, of course, when they should be walking or cycling. And the thing is, not a lot of parents are going to agree to send their kids off in a self-driving vehicle. I wouldn't. What if it shuts down or something and they're basically stranded and have no way of communicating? And there's no hands. Coming from the article, driverless cars promise to reduce road accidents, but once the sensors and activators are in place, building a driverless car is essentially a software problem. It can cost lots of money, and it's hackable. It can be hackable. Unless protocols for vehicle-to-vehicle communication are robust and secure, attackers could cause chaos, making a crash into each other. John Simpson, a privacy advocate at Consumer Watchdog, a California lobby group, is concerned that Google is not so much teaching computers to drive as it is pioneering a nightmarish form of advertising. Google might be tempted for a fee to favor routes that lead past adventures. Traffic lights and road signs will no longer be needed, and that's just going to cause more chaos, and it's going to be confusing to basically get around in these autonomous cars, because we won't know when to go or when to stop, and they're not proven to really drive on the streets, but mostly on the freeways. And basically that's my side of negative and constructive. Thank you.